Hi, welcome back to Centre Equestre La Luce and Live and Breathe Horses. So I've got a few additions to make for our little mini 3-part series about engaging the hindquarters. There's so much in that, and there was just a few other things that occurred to me afterwards that I'm not sure if I made clear enough in those 3 parts. We'll be also expanding on grounding. We're going to do one about that, about the mobilization of the hindquarters, and about the impulsion, about the jumping out the tracks thing. We're going to talk a bit more about that, mainly about, speed's not impulsion. And of course, for the engaging the hindquarters, we need impulsion. But the main thing I wanted to come back to was about the horse's conformation. So just to keep our expectations realistic of what's possible with our horse. Different horses are bred for different purposes. If you've got a thoroughbred racehorse, then he's a very horizontal kind of balance and maybe not so easy to engage. Iberian horses, the Spanish and Lusitano Portuguese breeds, tend to be more built, what they say, uphill, so that the balance is a bit more... the hindquarters are a bit more engaged naturally, which is not necessarily the case. My lovely Morisco, his hindquarters are actually higher than his front end. As they're growing, that can change. But unfortunately, his stayed with his hindquarters a little bit higher. So for him to engage is actually really difficult. So it's just to keep that in mind. And like I said, be realistic with your expectations of how far you're going to get with your horse. The other thing was about the gymnastic exercises that we talked about in part 3. The exercises are what are going to... help your horse engage, and this can be a very long process of very little by little by little, So the important thing, I think, to realize when you get a little bit, leave it at that for the day. That's always a good moment to stop. And I don't think it's possible really to do it with your hands and legs. Like I said, it's a balancing act. So you want the front end to be elevated so the back can go down, can engage. There is a school of thought that you can actually, with your hands, lift the horse's head and neck and elevate it so that when that comes up, the back can come in. But I had a student once who was very into doing it like that. She had a whole DVD training series about that. And maybe in the hands of a real master or expert, that's possible. But for most people, I think that's a very difficult and potentially dangerous thing to do, because the horse would probably just hollow his back and put his neck upside down. So it's just to... keep that in mind. And I just wanted to point those out, especially about the conformation, because I didn't mention that, and I think that's very important. It all depends on the horse, on the rider, on your experience, and on your horse's physical and of course mental and emotional state of being as related to his work. And it's the exercises themselves. If you're lucky like us and you have hills to use, that's possibly one of the most effective and least complicated ways of doing it. So I hope that clears anything up that was left out, and I'm sure I'll think of something else and we'll be back on it as we go through further work. But thank you very much for your time being here with us today.